Hello friends and well-wishers, and welcome back to another episode of A Quarter Ton of Fun. It's your buddy Ryan, aka The Champ, and I'm back today to talk about trigger foods. Those foods that it almost feels like you're in a fight with sometimes. Doritos? My mortal enemy! Oh, 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 oh. Hey son, what's going on? Yeah, as soon as I said eat Doritos, back to hell. That's it, Doritos. This ends now. Hey, no knives. That is not sportsmanlike. As I was saying, today we're going to talk about trigger foods and how we overcome them. Oh, all healed up. Wow. Different shirt too. It's almost like this is a completely different day. Well, welcome to the show, and we're going to get into those trigger foods, the foods that you just can't fight the temptation to eat more of. In just a minute, we're going to have weekly weigh-in too, of course, and I'll update you on how my journey through this wacky world we call weight loss is going. But first off, last week, I informed you of my plans to take on a 1,200 calorie a day diet. Now, there were a lot of haters. There were a lot of disbelievers. There were a lot of people who said I couldn't do it, that I couldn't hack it, that I would make it half a week and give up. And those people were absolutely right. That's just what I did because I was feeling like crap. Now, do I feel a little foolish having made a whole episode about taking this challenge on for a month and then quitting 3 days later? You know I do. But I didn't want to let my pride stand in the way of my health, and I was starting to feel like that's what this challenge was hurting, my health. The first few days of it were great. I was fine and I felt okay. And then the third day I started feeling really, really hungry in a way that, quite frankly, I haven't felt in a long, long time because when I wasn't watching what I would eat, I was never hungry, really. Mentally, I might have been hungry and thought it's time to eat something, but feeling real, actual hunger almost never happened because I was always eating, and I always had so much food inside of me. Since I've been watching what I eat, I think I've been eating enough to keep that hunger feeling away. It was intense, and it was keeping me up that third night to the point where I was considering getting up and having a snack. And the thing that stopped me was thinking, but I only have 1,200 calories for the whole day. I don't want to eat them in the middle of the night, and then what am I going to eat during the day, during the rest of the day? And so that last day of this challenge, I went outside, I was doing some yard work. My son was out there playing, and I felt several times so lightheaded I thought I was going to pass out. And it occurred to me, I'm doing what I'm doing not just to see the numbers drop on a scale, but to have better health and better enjoyment of life. And if I'm so out of it that I'm about to pass out and I can't sleep from hunger and I'm snapping at everyone around me because I'm angry and pissed off because I'm so starving, is it doing anything to better my life, to better my health? No, of course not. It was too extreme and it wasn't working. And I was upset because a lot of the people on My 600 Pound Life, which was the inspiration for doing a 1,200 calorie diet, can do it. My wife brought up a very salient point to me that I probably should have thought of before I started it all. Those people often are bedbound, can't walk from their house to their car. They're much less active than I am. They're burning up a lot less calories. They're not doing housework. They're not doing yard work. They're not chasing after a kid. I was burning up a lot more calories than those people. And it just wasn't enough. I was feeling sick, and I decided I'm not going to do it anymore. So, if you were one of the haters, one of the non-believers, and you thought I'd give up, congratulations, you were right. Sometimes, kids, haters ain't all bad. So let's talk about those trigger foods, the ones that if you eat a tiny bit, you're going to eat the whole thing. As we saw earlier, for me, Doritos are a huge one, and that comes from my youth. I talked before about my mom on shopping day would buy a giant bag of Doritos, and I would just sit there and eat the whole thing. I love Doritos. I love the taste of them. Funyuns fall into the same category for me. Chips in general are dangerous for me. Salty snacks are very dangerous for me to have unlimited access to because I'll eat them all. I'll just sit there mindlessly noshing on them. And learning to control my portions on things like that has been one of the toughest challenges I've faced in trying to lose weight. So I reached out to you guys on social media or here in the comments. Let's see what some of you had to say about your trigger foods, and we'll see if we share some in common. Matt says mac and cheese, cookies, and brownies. I'm not a big mac and cheese guy. I like a good mac and cheese. Don't get me wrong. I'll have some mac and cheese now and then, but it's not my favorite. And cookies and brownies, sure, if they're around, I'm going to want to eat them. But for me, it's easier to avoid sweets for whatever reason than it is that salty snacks. I just want that salt, baby. Pump it in my veins. John says fried chicken. Yes, fried chicken is amazing. You go to the Colonel. You're not just having a drumstick. You're having a breast. You're having a thigh. You're licking the grease out of that container. You're drinking the rest of the gravy. It's tough. Courtney says Chinese food. And oh my God, yes. Chinese food is like my favorite thing in the world. I live a few blocks from my favorite Chinese place. I wish it was further away because it is so tempting when you drive by it and see it all the time. I always want to stop in and have some Chinese food for me, and especially the portions. You know, you live next to a Chinese carryout place, you're going to get these huge portions. And yeah, if I'm hungry, I can eat the whole thing. I shouldn't, but sometimes I do. Now, usually now I try to make it into 2 meals. I know for some people that's like 3 or 4 meals. Oh, but it's so good. Mary, my sister-in-law, says Mrs. Thinster's toasted coconut cookie thins. I've never heard of these things before. Apparently this is them. They look pretty good. I'd try them. I don't know. Brooke says pizza. Yeah. You know it, Brooke. I mean, pizza's amazing. Even bad pizza is good, right? You get like a Jets pizza, that deep, thick, buttery crust. Oh my God. This video was a bad idea. I'm starving. Joy, my beautiful wife, my bride. I love her so much. She is just a wonderful person and always great and supportive about my weight loss. She says, if I eat a little bit of something, I don't have to worry about eating it all because you or Max will just end up finishing it. It's funny. It's hilarious. Good stuff. Good content. Just think some joke. Joker. Showball. Chip. Damn it. Patty says cake and spaghetti. Cake, sure. Again, that falls into the brownies and cookies things for me. Spaghetti. Melissa, salt and vinegar potato chips. She says she's not a huge chip person, but those are dangerous for her. I am a huge chip person. Those aren't my favorite, but if I had a bag of them, sure, I'd knock them out. Lori says stromboli and dough balls. Dough balls? Now what, like just balls of dough? Like cookie dough? What are we talking about, Lori? I'm going to need clarification here. When you watch this, let me know. The next two I can really relate to. My cousin Sarah says, too many favorites to even mention. Hashtag fat girl problems. I'm with you, sister. I'm a fat girl at heart. And Donna says everything. And yeah, before I started my diet especially, I was bad. Any kind of snack food, any kind of dinner that I really liked, if I ate it, and even if I was stuffed, I would go back for seconds or thirds or keep the bag or the box next to my chair so I could eat it all. And to that point, Rachel says, chips from the bag, it's hard to resist if they're just sitting next to you. Yes, I have to keep them away from me. That's one thing I've always heard, but I learned that. And she also adds any gluten-free baked goods like donuts or cookies. She has a gluten intolerance, so she's, it's especially hard because if she buys them or if they're in her house, they're just for her. Nobody else is really eating them. And that can be hard too, especially if it's a snack only you like and it's just sitting there. There's no qualms about saving it for anyone else, right? You just, well, that's mine. I'm going to eat it. Kristen, chips and salsa and queso. Yes, again, with those salty foods, chips and queso, chips and salsa, chips and guac, chips and spinach dip. My sister makes an amazing spinach dip. And if I go to her house and she's made it, batten down the hatches because big boy's coming through and he's got his feed bag on. Speaking of my sister, who you guys saw in the 5K video, Jenny, she says guacamole, popcorn with butter, cake, cookies, donuts. She loves sweets. But it's iced coffees. She's ridiculous with those, and she is. There was rarely a time I see my sister that she's like, you want to stop at Tim Hortons and get an ice cap? So I want to thank all of you who shared your trigger foods with me. So again, mine, chips, salty snacks, Chinese food, pizza, Mexican food. I would say those are my top 5 things. If it falls into one of those categories, I want to devour it. And now it's time for America's favorite segment, Weekly Weigh-In. Seriously? Who's running the graphics here? Idiots. A way to treat the champ. Damn you. So last week I weighed in... So last week I weighed in at 511.6 pounds. This week it was That's not right. Last week I weighed in at 516.6 pounds. This week it was 511.2 for a little over a 5-pound weight loss. Maybe half a week of that extreme diet was working. I don't know. But I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see those numbers keep moving in the right direction because that's what I want, baby. A healthier, happier, sustainable life and still seeing those numbers go down. I want my cake, figuratively, and to eat it too. Make sure to subscribe to my channel. Click on that red button that says subscribe below. You know you want to do it. If you're here watching me every week, enjoying, just help a brother out. Come on. When you do, click on the little notification. Jeez, oh, Pete, I'm having trouble this week. Click on the little notification bell, and it's going to tell you every time I put out a new episode. That's every Tuesday. If you want to interact with me on social media, you can find me on Twitter at QuarterFun. You can find me on Instagram at A Quarter Ton of Fun. Next week, we're going to talk about weight loss, supplements, skinny belly teas, diet pills, fad diets. Do any of them work? And what's the purpose for them if they don't? So this week in the comments, I want you to let me know, have you tried any pills, potions, powders, or fad diets, and did they work for you? So what's the takeaway from today's episode? Well, I think it's that we all have temptations. We all have those foods that get into our heads, and we get those cravings for them, and sometimes we're going to overindulge. The key is to limit that and make better choices most of the time. And I think we can also learn from my experience with this 1200 calorie failure. Sometimes you set a goal for yourself and it's too ambitious. That doesn't mean you quit. That doesn't mean you stop pushing. I'm not going to quit. I'm still going to go for about 1800 calories most days. Some days I'll let myself go up to 2500. You don't stop pushing though. You don't quit. You just keep trucking along and you chalk it up to an experience that you learned something from. What did I learn? 1200 calories a day ain't enough to keep this love machine running, baby. I need lots of fuel. Chugga, 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 chugga. So no matter if you binge on a bag of Doritos, if you set a goal and you fail, you dust yourself off, you get back up again, you knock that Dorito dust off your hands, and you realize that you are damn sexy.